This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Also known as the blind knife who found a squirrel in the drawer twice a day. This is Wretched Radio. Not sure, but I think maybe I got one here for your consideration. Just for you to contemplate. Maybe, just maybe, this is a part of our current cultural problem. Maybe this is why there is such a divide, and maybe, just maybe, this is a hurdle that you and I need to jump over. I know I do, because I have a huge problem. My problem is I am always so right. I mean, is it easy to always be right? The answer is no, it's not easy at all. Living with all of these people on this planet, 330 million Americans alone that are all wrong about everything. And here I stand, right on everything. And so
it's hard to be the
like
only sane man.
Is hard for me, especially when our current culture, it's so, sorry to use this word, tribal. It's so you're this side or that side, and there's very little nuance on anything. And I'm wondering if maybe you and I as Christians could perhaps just lead the way a little bit in this regard. Would like to share with you, just possibly consider some statistics for a moment, right? You hear these statistics, and then just mark your response. So here it is. In America, give or take, I'm doing this from memory, the statistics, so pardon me if I'm wrong, but the number is indeed this large. There are 335 million interactions with law officers and civilians last year in America, and the overwhelming majority, it's well over 99%, are perfectly peaceful. What's your response to that? What's your gut on that? Hold your thought for just a second. Let me give you another thought. In the American police force, there are some racist people who have acted in a racist fashion and hurt people of color. What's your reaction to that? Here's a question for you. Could it be that both statements are true? Could it be that both of those ideas can actually coexist? Or is it the case that today in our culture, because of the way that just the chips have fallen, no, police are either all good or they're all bad? Or, yeah, okay, fine, there's a couple of bad ones, but, and it's entirely dismissive. Or conversely, hey, all the whole thing is kafritz and it needs to be dismantled. Now, that seems to be the way that the sides are playing out, aren't they? And it seems that you can't take a middle ground. I was thinking about this during the break, something that I said. I said I love the police. I love firemen. I love first responders, these men and women who risk their lives to be on the front lines to make sure that we can live in a society that's civilized. Praise God for those people and their families who make those sacrifices. And I thought, somebody's going to think that I don't think any of them ever make mistakes. And that's probably true. Somebody probably out of the tens and tens of people listening probably did think that. And on the other hand, if I would have said, hey, that guy, that sure looks like it was an example of racism in the police force, they would go, oh, so you think they're all racist, huh? You're buying that narrative, are you? Why can't it be both? Why can't we say, overwhelmingly in this country, police do an amazing job, and we should praise God for them? And there have indeed been instances where men and women have done things. Now, sometimes it's hard to know their hearts, isn't it? That they have done things that are just wrong. Can I say, furthermore, can't I say that if there are indeed items in the police manual that need to be fixed, I'm all for it, without saying I think that they're all racist? And can't I say that we have made huge progress with policing techniques in this country without you thinking that I think that nothing needs improvement and that I am somehow not hearing the pleas of a people that feel like they have been on the wrong end of some bad rules. Why can't we, on not all of these issues, there's black and white on some things, there is, but it seems we just struggle, don't we? Let me share with you from Cripplegate, a compassionate countercultural Christian response, some food for thought. To grieve and lament over the tragic death of George Floyd is not an affirmation of the cultural narrative. That one make its way into your gullet? To grieve and lament over the tragic death of George Floyd is not an affirmation of the cultural narrative. And did you ever feel like this? Hey, what happened to George Floyd? That was terrible, but you just have to, yeah, but I got to tell you the other side here and what's going on and what was happening in the video that was seen and what was happening in the city of Minneapolis and the mayor who's running and who looks like he's 18. Can't you just go, what happened to that man was tragic? Yeah, but do you know what his criminal record was and that he was down in Texas and he came up here and that he actually held a woman to come up? It's okay to just say it's tragic without affirming everything else. It's okay. From Cripplegate, to mourn with those who mourn does not necessarily mean protesting with those who protest. There are a lot of black people in this country, and not all of them are represented by the images that you saw in downtown Minneapolis. You go to church, I hope you do. You know believers who are black. And they have got emotions that are tender. You might think that they're wrong, but they are hurting. And they aren't represented perhaps by those people that are burning down buildings. To mourn with those who mourn does not necessarily mean protesting with those who protest. To vehemently denounce and oppose the evil of racism and the error of ethnocentrism is not to automatically agree with secular and worldly philosophies that seem to do the same, such as critical race theory and intersectionality. Did you catch all of that? To vehemently denounce the evil of racism is not to say, I agree with intersectionality. It's hard, though, isn't it? Because you feel like you are. Well, if I'm too full-throated about this issue of racism, people are going to think I'm all social justice warrior-y. Doesn't have to. Might. Doesn't have to. Doesn't. To be silent, it is not always to be complicit and guilty. All right? This is now, we're going into a different direction.
No. White silence is violence.
That's exactly the line right there. Silence is compliance is another one. Well, Jesus was silent before his accusers. He didn't speak up over that particular injustice. It's okay for some people to go, I don't feel comfortable speaking on this. I don't feel equipped. I don't feel like I have all the information. I actually believe that there's a time to enter into a fray and there's a time not to. And right now I think it's a time not to. And it doesn't mean that they're racist. It just means that they're being silent. Furthermore, I just heard a pistol whipping from a megachurch pastor. How dare you not speak up on racism when you speak up on abortion and sex trafficking? Whoa. Okay. That's quite an accusation. And that's an example of making his thing your thing. He cares about it and wants to speak on it, so you have to do the same. It's not the case. There are so many issues we can get engaged in. A Christian can't get engaged in all of them. They just can't. And I won't even get into the intensity of these issues. The point is that a Christian doesn't have to speak up on everything all the time. You would never stop. You'd be walking around the streets all the time. Hey, everybody, I'm really concerned about pride. Hey, everybody, arrogance is terrible. Hey, if anybody's doing adultery, evil, wicked. You can't spend your day decrying every evil that exists. And every Christian gets to make that decision for themselves. I don't make my thing your thing. You don't make your thing my thing. We act as a body. Okay, you want to work on the subject of racism? You go to work on the subject of racism. You want to work on the subject of abortion? You go to work on the subject of abortion. I would encourage you to join that effort, specifically by supporting preborn.org/wretched, preborn.org/wretched. $28 will buy an ultrasound, which saves a baby's life. Mommy, daddy, hear the gospel. Beautiful ministry. I would beg you to be a part of that, to save lives. Preborn.org/wretched. Would I call you a sinner if you don't? No. Can't do that. That pastor tried to. To call for biblical discernment and definitions in this discussion and refuse wholesale blanket acceptance of cultural ideas and assumptions is not less compassionate, but more. Can you accept that? Maybe, just maybe, unlike our cultural commentators who black and white everything, this side, that side, we can maybe on some of these, not all of these, some of these have two ideas coexist. This is Wretched Radio. I'll be needing to see some identification, young man.
Why?
Because you, my friend, are a lawbreaker.
No, I'm not.
You are, according to this video from Ray Comfort. Production. I need the clips on time.
911, what's your emergency?
We met about
Yeah, he asked me to
this.
become a gospel partner, and he took my credit card.